Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. I've got with me Venu, who you'll probably recognise from Venu's Cricket Catch-Up, and Asjad from Cricket4Us 2.0, who I'm sure you'll recognise as well. How are you doing both?
I'm doing well, Fizan. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm good. Thanks.
Good. Let's go into this is actually going to be a test match review. And you're probably thinking, you're a bit surprised. And if you haven't seen the highlights or you haven't seen the match, you'll be thinking, why are we doing a test match review after day 3? And that's because it's already over. So, as you can probably imagine, if you've seen the first day and second day and maybe haven't tuned into day three is, I think, probably where most of the talking points will be. So, we'll touch upon day 3 first. Okay, so I think all of us are pretty surprised about how it went about. Venu, let's go with you first. What did you think overall about day 3? What are your first thoughts?
Demolition. That's my first word that comes to mind. Demolition, disappointed, carnage. India can't bat. Australia bowling really, really well. But I was disappointed, I think as a neutral cricket fan, I don't support Australia or India. I was looking forward to a tight contest, and it was set up nicely after 2 days of play. I was looking forward to India getting a lead of maybe 200 plus and taking it to day 4, maybe day 5 would have been a really interesting test match. But instead, I woke up this morning and I heard on the radio that Australia batting. I was thinking, what's just happened? And I realized India all at 36. And I was thinking, that's just ridiculous. And watching the highlights, seeing how well Australia bowled, and I think we'll touch upon this later on. I think they bowled a fuller length, drawing out the drives from the Indian batsmen, and they were just nicking it. They were just nicking more or less everything. And fair play to Hazelwood getting his 200th wicket, and Pat Cummins for getting his 150th. So those two really tore through India's batting lineup and got them out 36, India's lowest ever total in Test match cricket. And after then, they needed 90 odd to win. And it was good to see Joe Burns get a half century to finish the game off for Australia. So I think it was more Australia's brilliance with the ball, and also India really couldn't cope with what was coming at them with the ball. So yeah, well done, Australia.
Yeah, I think we'll touch upon that more in detail, I think, for sure. I think because that innings especially, obviously, is, I think, a pivotal innings, that India second innings. Asjad, your first thoughts before we kind of delve into it in detail. What were your thoughts of the day?
Well, Venu has summed it up the best, that even better than I could potentially do. Exactly the same thoughts. One thing, though, that I do want to say, usually you watch like subcontinental teams struggle with a lot of swing or a lot of seam. This time, it was just enough swing or enough seam to kind of edge the bat. Because a lot of the time when the ball does swing quite a bit, you kind of have a lot of plays and misses. But in this case, it just seemed and swung just enough to nick every single time. A lot of these deliveries were unplayable. So I don't completely think that India did a terrible job, but I think it was a bad display. Yes, I agree with that. But I don't think it was completely their fault, because Australia bowled so well. Hazelwood, good example on that, because like his 200th wicket, right? He took a 5 for 25 balls to get 5 wickets in a test match. It's like basically he's playing a T20 game and he just had an extra delivery, right? It's crazy. And on top of that, Pat Cummins, for me, is the bowler of the match, definitely, because he did well in the first innings. We'll get to that. But in terms of even in the second innings, he's the one who got the initial breakthrough. He got Prithvi Shaw out. I think he got Bumrah out, and then eventually Pujara as well. So yeah, a lot of these deliveries were very unplayable. But again, they kind of induced the drive, induced a lot of shot selections that you as an opener, Fazan, that a person shouldn't do in a game where you have to bat for the long haul. And I was expecting something, 200, 250 plus as a target. And they were blown away. They were 19 for 6. They were 31 for 9, which is, I've never seen scores like this. The only time I've seen it was like there was a women's cricket game where it was like 0 all out or something like that. I saw a few months ago. But yeah, that is just madness. The more I commend The bowlers, I don't think it's enough. The bowlers did a great job. The Indian batting struggled with the not so moving deliveries. And yeah, it was disappointed, great word. Destruction, another word. And yeah, I was very surprised, very surprised. Didn't expect this at all. But yeah, Australia deserved this win. They bowled very well and wrapped it up in 2.5 days, which is absolute madness.
Yeah, okay. Let's touch upon then the bowling display from Australia in that second innings, or India's second innings. I agree with both of you in terms of, so Usher, when you talk about a swing and seam movement, I think it wasn't a huge amount on show. I think actually when there's a lot of swing, a lot of bowlers they struggle to control a lot of swing through the air. And actually sometimes what happens is you have bowlers who they swing the ball but from the hand, and that makes it quite easy as a batsman to play because you see the swing early. What actually really gets batsmen most of the time is late swing, or as we see Pat Cummins gets a lot, and so does Hazelwood, is seam movement off the pitch. And that's what I think is really effective. And both those bowlers get that. And that's why I think Stark is very good in burst with the new ball because he swings the new ball and at pace. But the reason why Cummins and Hazelwood are so effective in Test match cricket, and not just with the new ball, but throughout an innings, is because they get consistently that seam movement. And that, if you watch the slow motion of them bowling, their seam presentation is immaculate, and they've got very good control of the ball. And I think, for example, Cummins' delivery in that first innings to Agarwal, which cleaned him up, kind of epitomised the type of bowler that he is. So yeah, both of them obviously hammered at that kind of top of off stump length. Length and line. And obviously, as we've said, India. Look, I agree with you. There were some unplayable deliveries to a degree, but after watching the innings, I think a lot of the batsmen didn't apply themselves very well. If you know that bowlers are going to be bowling that well, and they're obviously in their groove, and you're struggling, then you go with softer hands and you make sure you get in line. They weren't really doing that, and there seems to be a bit of technical deficiency there. Venu, you're going to say something about that. Go
on. I agree with you, because I think a lot of the Indian batsmen were stuck on the crease. They didn't get out to the ball. I think only Kohli is really the only Indian batsman who gets a good stride out to the ball, get his front foot in line with the ball, and plays it well. I think a lot of the Indian batsmen did get stuck on the crease, and as a result, they were just nicking them. So, yeah, I do think there was some technical flaws in the Indian batsmen, and they couldn't really cope with the fantastic Australian bowling.
Yeah, I think actually, I want to touch upon Kohli because actually the way he got out was one of the worst of, I think, all the Indian batsmen, if I'm being honest, from looking at it from a technical point of view. But I agree with you in terms of getting his front foot. Overall, in terms of his batting technique, he's good at getting forward and getting in line for the most part, for sure. I think, yeah, you're right. They got stuck on the crease. It was for me. Cummins, obviously, as I should mention, he started the downfall with getting Prithvi Shaw. That was the day before, though, day 2. But then at the start of this day, he got Bumrah and Pujara, and then obviously got the vital wicket of Kohli. So even though he only got 4 rather than Hazelwood's 5, I think you can say that those 4 wickets are probably more valuable than Hazelwood's 5. And again, he bowled very well in the first innings. Usher, do you want to touch upon how well you thought Cummins bowled actually in this innings, especially?
Yeah, this is the thing, right? He's initially, when he started bowling with Stark, both of them kind of form a really, really nice bowling partnership in the beginning. And after that, the way he controlled the runs, the way he just kept pitching the ball in a similar place. I know there was this whole visual on screen just to show you, okay, this is where he's been pitching it. And it just, from the same spot, it seemed away, it seemed it went straight on. And it's just the skill that he has to be able to put the ball in the exact same place and get it to move away or towards the batsman. That just completely, as Venu said, they're stuck at the crease. They don't know where the ball's going. They don't know if it's going to bounce high enough or if it's going to be a delivery that they need to go forward to. And that's what he's done. And there were no, like, the only loose delivery that I can think of was the one that got Kohli out because it was a bit wider of off stump. But otherwise, his line and length was very Hazelwood-ish, if you know what I mean. Because usually I think of Hazelwood as McGrath-like line and length. There's a specific hard length that he hits. He keeps hitting it. But Cummins was doing exactly the same thing. But Cummins, again, even quicker, getting that seam movement is just really impressive, honestly. And just, I'm going to touch on Hazelwood very quickly, because when Hazelwood came to ball, I think it's in his first over, he gets the 2 wickets, doesn't he? And he just starts annihilating each and individual Indian batsman. He was, in 4 overs, he'd only given 3 runs away and took 5 wickets. Like, it's lucky that there was a top edge, or there was something down leg side, I can't remember exactly, that went for 4 of Umesh Yadav. But everything else, he didn't miss anything in terms of where he needed to bowl. So I was just in awe afterwards, because there was, like, I expected Stark to do a lot better because he has a brilliant record in pink ball tests. And he'd take 2 wickets in the first innings, did he?
Yeah, he took he took 4 in the first innings. But
4 wickets, so he's
none in this one.
Yeah, but again, all 3 of them, they didn't even need Nathan Lyon. So in 20 overs, 3 bowlers bowled and absolutely wrapped him up. So just, again, speechless. I was speechless for about 20 minutes before doing anything today. I was sitting there, I was listening to Virat Kohli after the presentation. I was like, what are you talking about? You lost because of one last half hour or whatever. Like, it was all bad. Like, it was bad technique from you guys, but the bowling is so good. You should have known that, right? Coming into this match, Pujara and Kohli didn't play the day and night tour game or the first class game that they had, right? If they did, maybe they would have gotten a bit of practice of how to play these types of deliveries. But yeah, sorry, just ranting a little, so I'll calm down.
No, that's a good point about I think practice beforehand. I think Kohli, I don't think it's an arrogance. I think it's more confidence, and he knows he's only going to play one Test match as well. We can talk about that later, about how India are going to fare in the rest of the Test series, because it doesn't bode well, I think, this collapse. I want to now touch upon that Kohli dismissal, because I think actually really that epitomised India's batting in the second innings, because yes, we mentioned there were a few nicks which were good deliveries. I think, again, a bit of poor technique, not getting in line with the ball, but there were some very good deliveries as well. And as you said, Cummins, he does very well to get that seaming off the pitch. He also bowls a very good cross-seam delivery, which does get that extra bounce. So he utilises his tools very well in Test cricket. But Kohli, okay, so the ball before he got out, I think he flashed one. Again, it was a wideish delivery from Cummins, and it went between Cameron Green, who was at deep gully, and I think third or second slip it was. So it went in between that gap. And you're kind of thinking, okay, next ball, if it's around there, he's just going to leave it. So he doesn't. He goes and flashes at it outside off stump. And look, at this point, right, they're struggling big time. I think they're 4 or 5 down, and they're 4 down. Or 5, yeah, they were 5 down. And he's only faced a few deliveries. So I just think, look, we know how good he is. And if he said that for 4, we're thinking, okay, great shot. But I just think in terms of percentages, if you think about the right shot to play, he could have easily just left it, let it go, and you just go. And he needed to play the type of innings that he played in the first innings. And I feel like for him, it's really hard for him to play that type of innings anyway. And so then to do it 2 innings in a row, it obviously, he just struggled to do that. And look, it was a very good catch by Cameron Green, low. It did go quickly. He flashed at it, obviously trying to drive on the up. I just think it was funny. It was reminiscent of the Champions Trophy. And I've seen this a lot with Kohli. I have actually. This is not only the second time I've seen this. I've seen this a few times where either in the same over or the delivery before, he'll get a chance, or it'll be something where he's got squared up or he's been outplayed. And then instead of thinking, okay, I'm not going to do that, it's almost like he's in his brain, he's like, okay, it's a challenge, I'm going to do this. And the next ball just thinks, no, it's fine. I can amend it, or I can prove that actually I can do this. And it's almost like a battle within. And again, it didn't work. Sasha, I'll come to you in a second. Venu, what did you think of that dismissal? Did you think it was poor application from him?
Yes, I agree with what you said, Fazan. I think it's poor application considering they needed a captain's knock from him, and he should have just left the ball. And I do think Kohli is susceptible to a ball outside off stump. He will drive at it, he'll flash at it, and it's actually a tactic teams have used against him. And you were right; it's just reminiscent of the Champions Trophy final against Pakistan, and that is a technical flaw. I'm not sure if it's a technical flaw, maybe it's a mental flaw from Kohli there.
Yeah, it's mental.
It's a mental flaw more. Yeah. He should have left the ball, but you can't take away how well Australia bowled, and there was so much pressure on him, and it was just I think it's a technical and mental flaw from Kohli. Maybe his ego kind of gets in the way, but I think it's a good point raised there, Fizan. Good point raised there.
Yeah, I think England used that tactic, didn't they, when India toured England, and I think that's why he struggled big time with the conditions, swinging conditions as well. And there were a lot of deliveries that Anderson got him out to where he was flashing outside of stump. So I think that is something that he can obviously work on. But he did well in the first inning, so it's clear that he can do it. It's just about doing it consistently at the right times. Go on, Asjad, you wanted to talk about it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, at that point, the way I see it is he's the type of person who thinks, oh, I can attack and get out of a sticky situation. India was 15 for 1, and then in like 2 overs or something, they were 15 for 5. Okay? In his head, he flashed that because he's like, I have to take the attack onto these bowlers. Otherwise, they're going to keep going over us, which they exactly do anyway. But his thought process was offense is the best tactic of defense. Didn't work, but it has worked for him in the past. So maybe that's the mindset that, oh, I need to be aggressive against them. And that's the reason why he did flash at that. But I agree with both of you with regards to he is susceptible to that wide delivery on off stump, outside off, because he believes he can 9 times out of 10, he's going to smash that for 4. But seems like there's more times that he actually gets out. And I remember that delivery from Mohammad Amir as well.
Yeah, that there's a little bit of, I think, and actually someone said the IPL hasn't helped them in there, and that probably hasn't, in the sense that obviously a ball, normally in a T20 match, you're thinking that's 3 runs. I should be going at that. It's an interesting one, actually. Evan, I'll come to you in a second, actually. But I think when you say he should have counterattacked, and obviously, as in like that's what his thought process was, I think at 15 for 5, though, it's a different scenario. And the reason why I say that is because they've not got a lead, or they've got a very small lead at that point, and they've got to be very careful. And that's where the rebuilding stage is needed. I feel like you counterattack when you're in not so much of a precarious position. That's in my opinion. And because his wicket is so vital, if it was someone like Ashwin, he does do that in matches I've seen him. But Kohli is a different kettle of fish because he's so vital. Go on, Venu, what were you going to say?
I'm just adding to what you've just said, Fizan. I think it's okay to play counter-attacking innings, but considering the position they're in, and also the fact that Kohli was facing his 8th ball, I think give yourself a chance, play yourself in, play some defensive shots, and assess how the pitch is playing, because the pitch has changed. The pitch has changed from the first innings to their second innings. It's dried up. Australia bowling at fuller length. You've got to play yourself in. And I think he will look back on that and thinking, yes, that was probably a silly shot given the circumstances.
Yeah, agreed. I think the Kohli's wicket in that first innings was pivotal, out of no fault of his own, which we'll touch upon, I'm sure. But obviously this wicket as well, I think, was a turning point, because if you see the reaction of the Australians after they get him out, they're thinking, okay, that's it, we can wrap this up very, very quickly. And that's what they did. And I think it gave them even more of a boost to say, okay, we're going to be able to skittle them. And obviously that's what happened in the end. I just want to very, very briefly touch upon Shami getting hit in the arm. I thought that was quite a vicious delivery that he got that followed him, basically. I don't know actually if did he bowl in the next innings? No, he didn't. So I think I don't know whether he fractured his arm or something, because it looked quite bad. I don't know if any of you know.
Yeah, he went out for a scan at the end of the game. So more likely than not, it's looking like he's not going to play the next match, which is a huge blow for India. And I know you're going to touch on it later, but no Virat Kohli, no Mohammad Shami. That's not ideal for them at all.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's just then briefly touch upon the innings, Australia's second innings. So Matthew Wade and Burns, obviously in the first innings they struggled big time. Bumrah got them both LBW trapped in front. Both gave them a solid platform. So by the time Matthew Wade got out on 33, it was 70 for one. I want to ask both of you actually, before we go on to Joe Burns. Matthew Wade, do you think he can open long term? Let's just say, for example, Warner, in a theoretical situation, going forward, if Warner's still injured, Pugovski's still injured, if they've only got Joe Burns and they've got Marcus Harris, say for example, they've also got Matthew Wade. In the next test, if they only have those three batsmen, potential openers, would you go with Matthew Wade again? What did you think of his performance? Venu, quickly you.
If Warner is not back to full fitness, then Matthew Wade still plays. I think he played a good innings there, steadied the ship for Australia, and yeah, I think he'll come back. I think he'll play if Warner's still injured. However, there is a scenario where Warner and Burns open and Wade's slots into the middle order, potentially in for Travis Head, potentially Cameron Green. But yeah, I think if Warner is injured, then Wade still plays.
Okay. What about you, Ash? Do you think 8 and 33 in 2 innings is enough, or do you think someone like, for example, if Warner's not fit, should Marcus Harris be playing instead? Because obviously he's more experienced as an opener.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The thing is, I don't see an issue with Matthew Wade opening, especially because Travis Head in the middle order, he only got 20 deliveries in the first innings. He didn't look very comfortable. So if he got a chance to bat in this innings, I may have been able to give you a slightly different answer. But I think if it's not broke, don't fix it at this point. Because if Warner's injured, if Pugovski's injured, I understand what you're saying, because there is a proper opener out there called Marcus Harris, right? I think if this is their first side and we haven't seen Travis Head bat in both innings, I think, knowing Australia, they're going to go with the same side for the next game.
Yeah, go on, very quickly.
Interesting to see if Pukovski gets back to full fitness and Warner gets back to full fitness, whether they'll both open for Australia. That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting team selection.
I think personally, because Joe Burns just hit that 50, he'll be able to keep his place for the next test. If he hadn't, I don't think he would have. So let's quickly then touch upon Joe Burns, because obviously very, very short of runs. I think one of us talked about this, that he'd scored basically nothing in the last 6 test matches or whatever it was. He's been very, very, just dry of runs. 51 of 63, so pretty quick 50 as well, to be honest. Struck rate of 80, which you normally see in an ODI. What did you guys think? I should quickly. What do you think of his innings, and do you think maybe we're seeing a bit of a return to form here now?
Yeah, definitely. He basically he started off slow as he usually does, but what he did in this innings was he started to realize that, I can just smash them for bowling short deliveries, even though that's probably the worst decision on this pitch, considering most of the wickets that Australia did take were from pitched up deliveries, and they were bowling short at him. He's like, I'm just going to attack this. And I can remember 3 4s he hit of Bumrah, just bouncing him out. And he's just like pulling them for 4. And India still didn't learn the lesson. And one thing I'd say is Joe Burns, his form, it was 62 runs in the last 9 innings or something like that, right? And he's just hit this 51 at 80 strike rate, which means India has done to him what Pakistan usually does to players, which is bring the other team's players back into form. And now he's back in form. And yeah, I don't see him being dropped. I think it was the nature of, I don't know if you noticed this, but Matthew Wade was 29 of 27 at one point, right? So India started concentrating on controlling Matthew Wade, and they started to bowl slightly looser to Joe Burns, and he took full advantage of it. And that's when he started hitting those boundaries. So yeah, I think he was smart. It was very smart the way he batted today. And with Matthew Wade, it was really good to see that partnership actually flourish. And yeah, I don't foresee him being dropped whatsoever now after this 50.
Yeah, very, very impressive, I think, from him. Vanu, did you think it was so? To get his 50, obviously, he hit the winning runs, which was a pull shot off, I think it was Umesh Yadav. And Jasprit Bumrah, I really want to touch upon India's fielding actually in this test match, but Bumrah dropped him right on 45. It wasn't a dolly, but he should have taken it, to be honest with you, in my opinion. I thought he could have taken that. Or if he didn't take it, he could have at least pushed it back in play. But he did neither. What he did is he thought, I'm going to try and go for the catch, and then he just basically pushed it over for 6. And I just thought that really, it was poetic in a way, because yes, India's batting was a major downfall, obviously, in that second innings, but their fielding, and I really want to touch upon this. I think in the first innings they dropped 4 or 5 catches. I think 3 off Labuschagne, who ended up hitting 47. And you think 47 is not a lot, but then if you think about how much India scored in the second innings, it is. And this wasn't a particularly high-scoring game at all. It was a very low-scoring game. So did you think, Venu, it was a little bit ironic seeing that? Because when I saw that, I just thought that's almost perfect and poetic in a way that India lose like that.
Yeah, it epitomized India's performance this test match, really. There were lackluster in the field, let's be honest. To drop 6 easy, maybe 6, 7 easy chances, you can't do that at this level, and India will be kicking themselves. And yeah, it really, I think fielding is such an important asset to the game, because it sets an example and it really sends a message to your opponents. And the fact that you gave Labuschagne 3 chances, a quality batsman like him, you can't do that. And if they took their chances, I think Australia maybe would have been 60 odd runs shorter, even less, and that they could have had to chase maybe 150 odd, 170 odd, and that would have given India more of a chance to win that game. But yeah, I think there were some comical moments in that test match, and yeah, their fielding really has to improve going forward to the Boxing Day test match in Melbourne.
Yeah, I think so. Usher, we've touched upon this as well. Actually, I think Venu, you definitely have, but all 3 of us have. In the last few matches, I think in the ODIs and T20s, India's fielding's been pretty poor. To be honest with you, a very, very average or below average. To be honest with you, something they need to work on. And we said, I think that it can be a difference in T20s of about 15 runs. But in this test match, if you think about who they dropped as well, I think it was Labuschagne in the first innings and a few others. I think you're right, Venu. I think it was, but I actually think it was probably a difference of about 100 runs. And if you're thinking about a difference of 100 runs, then, okay, let's say Australia had to chase 193. You're looking at a completely different game. After India have just been good for those 6, they're thinking, the bowlers are thinking, okay, look, we can do something similar. We've got, 5, 6 times the amount of runs to defend here. We can do this, and Australia's batsmen would have been thinking as well, okay, this is a bit more precarious. So actually, I think, yes, of course, I think we've touched upon their batting and how poor it was, but the fielding, I think equally so, is so important. What did you think, Asjad?
So I just want to touch on that point. We've all said it before, but yeah, India's fielding in this entire tour of Australia has been the worst Indian fielding effort I've seen in like years. So it's like it's improved in every format, but it's still below average, if that makes sense. So it was terrible in the ODIs, then it got slightly better in the T20s. I personally thought this is the best fielding effort I've seen of India in this entire tour, and they've dropped 6 or 7 catches in one innings. Right, so just imagine how bad they fielded the entire series. And I think you're right. It's about 90, 100 runs, something like that, because you have to consider the fact that if Labuschagne was caught out, that puts pressure on the batsman. Maybe the person batting with him gets out as well, right? Maybe they don't stay there as long as they would have if they've already got a settled batsman at the other end. So all of those things kind of add up together, and the fielding wasn't great. I still blame the batting the most personally, but I think the fielding is a big part of it, and largely because of that mental game, because potentially Australia could have been 100 all out. One thing I actually also want to mention very quickly is in Australia's first innings, they were 111 for 7, right? India gave them 80 runs off their last 3 batsmen, like the tail enders basically. So was it Stark, Lyon, and Hazelwood? But what Tim Payne did, he took the strike as much as possible, tried to get the runs, and basically just batted like I don't know the best example, but like Brian Lara used to. Like he'll take the strike as much as possible and then give one ball to the other batsman, right? It tries to ease the tailenders to kind of play their shots if they did need to. And India didn't do that when India was batting. India was 233 for 6 and they were 244 all out because their tailenders absolutely have no idea how to wag, and this Australians ones clearly do because the score is 80 of that. And I think that's something India has struggled over the past, I want to say at least the past year and a half, 2 years, where they've struggled to clean up sides at the end of the innings. They get them 7 down, 6 down, but they can't get them to 10 wickets down. And yeah, it's really surprising that basically because I've seen India's fielding improve so much. It's like similar to how, Fazan, we were talking about before, that we saw Pakistan's fielding improve with Mickey Arthur, and then it's just gone downhill. And we saw India's fielding improve before Ravi Shastri became coach, and it's just declined slowly, and it's gotten that bad now that everyone's commenting on it, and it's genuinely very, very disappointing.
Okay, apologies if you can hear Ray in the background. It's hailing here. So I can hear. I thought there was something about to explode in the room, but it's not. It's just absolutely caning it. Okay, that's why it's gone a bit darker as well. So apologies. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. I think the only bright spark for me was Kohli's catch of Cameron Green, which was in Australia's second innings. That was a very good catch, I thought. But yeah, apart from that, go on, Rennie.
Can I just say, I was going to say about Kohli's, but that was a brilliant catch. It seems also in the T20 series, Pandya took a superb catch. And you're just thinking, during training, are India just working on what's their mindset to take these superb catches? It seems they'd be like working on trying to seek and make the best catch instead of focusing on the basics. They just couldn't get the basic catches right. And that really cost them. And let's be honest here, you're going to get a high percentage of basic catches rather than these really hard 50-50 catches. So I think India needs to spend the next week, the fielding coach has just got to give them like proper catches. All right.
No,
so that's something they need to work on.
You know what it is actually? It's not even, they obviously have the ability to do it, as you said. So would Pakistan as well. It's to do with its mentality and also concentration. Because a lot of those catches that they'll drop is because they have switched off for a second. Especially in a test match, is very easy to do. So it's about being switched on the whole time, and that's what will be most of it, to be honest with you, to a degree. So they almost need to have an hour or two where they're just doing fielding, basically. Okay, before we kind of, I want to get your thoughts on the whole maybe top moment or whatever of the test match. Tim Payne 73, because Usher's already touched upon it. So Venu, I want to get your opinion on it. In that first innings, now seems like a very, very vital knock. He batted very well at the tail, and I think actually out of all the batsmen, apart from maybe Kohli, but I didn't think he was necessarily at his most fluent. For me, I think Tim Payne actually batted the best, and we don't normally associate him with being a very good batsman. We associate him as being a very good glovesman, and as Usher said, a captain. Apologies, Tim Payne, you are a good captain. I was just taking the mic before. Rennie, what did you think of that knock?
Yes, it was a captain's innings, Fazan, wasn't it? It was, considering when he came in, Cameron Green got out. They were 5 for 79, and as Asjad was saying, he batted really well with the tail, and he rotated the strike, and he hit a decent strike rate of 10 fours, strike rate over 70. Yeah, very good performance from him, and he got him the man of the match award for his performance in the first innings. So that really, if India did take the catches, then the score wouldn't have been 191. But that is down to India's not taking the catches, and also Tim Payne as well, batting really well with the tail. Considering they got from 5 to 79 to 191 all out, and Asher made a really good point earlier. Whereas India, on the other hand, in their first innings, they were 5 for 196 and all out for 244. So I think India are missing an all-rounder. I think they do need an all-rounder in that batting lineup. And I do think Australia's bowlers can bat a bit. They can bat. Pat Cummins can bat. He can hit. He can bat well. And the issue is, Yadav, Bumrah, Shami can't really bat. So that's something they need to work on, I think, going forward.
Yeah, agreed. I think even Josh Hazelwood hit a really nice on drive, which was really surprising in the first innings, I think it was. And Stark can definitely bat. He can hit for sure. And Nathan Lyon, I think, has improved quite a bit as well, his batting, because he was before a very, very shocking batsman, but he's improved vastly his batting, which obviously you don't associate with him with even. Tim Paine getting man of the match, I was a bit surprised about. I would have given it to Pat Cummins. As we said, he bowled so well. He got three wickets in the first innings, 4 in the second. So 7 overall. But I guess fair enough. That was a vital innings, I guess. Okay, let's kind of wrap up then. And I just want to get Asjad for you. What one thing for Australia? Can you give me a positive for Australia first?
For me, it's Tim Paine's batting form because I don't usually associate him with such good batting skills. I associate him being a decent keeper and a pretty good captain as of late. But what he's shown here, and then I went through some of his stats from since he became captain, he's actually becoming that man of crisis or playing a captain's knock quite often, because if Australia do get swindled down to like 5 down or something, he does come in and give them that stability. So that's what I've been really impressed with. And I think that for me, I kind of understand where the man of the match for Tim Paine kind of comes from, because as Venu correctly pointed out, if they're 5 for 79, if Tim Paine didn't stay, like if you compare Saha, the other wicketkeeper on the other side, he scored 9 or something, right? He got out pretty much straight away as soon as the next day started. But Tim Paine stayed there, didn't get out. That's the cool thing. So yeah, I definitely take him as the positive for me in this game.
Vanu, what about you to Australia?
Well, it's an interesting question, because you would say the bowling, but the bowling has been fantastic. It's probably the best bowling pace attack at the moment in Test cricket, I would say. But I agree with Asjad. I think Tim Paine's captaincy and Tim Paine's batting is a plus. Joe Burns 50 is a plus. But to pick, I would say I'll go with Asjad. Tim Paine's batting.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yeah, I think Australia and New Zealand may be their bowling attack, I'd say, because Venu, we've touched upon how good New Zealand's are, but I think both of them have been pretty amazing. I think in terms of bowling, for me, I think Joe Burns' return to form, I think, is a big plus for Australia, considering I don't know whether David Warner will be fit or not, but if he is, then it's great because they've got Joe Burns, who hopefully is going to be scoring runs. So I think Tim Paine's not quite incredible, but I think in terms of a positive going out of it, I think, as Asjad said, Tim Paine has been batting quite well before. So I think for them, I'll be happy to have Joe Burns back in the runs, which will be good. Okay, what one thing can Australia, as Venu would say, do their homework on or improve on? Asjad, quickly to you.
Ooh, that's a good one. I was going to say opening partnerships before, the second innings. But no, I think one thing is that Marnus Labuschagne, when he came in the second innings, he looked fidgety throughout. I'm not saying fidgety like Steve Smith, fidgety in the sense that he didn't seem comfortable at the crease, right? He could have gotten out for 15 in the first innings and we would not be talking about him. We'd be saying, oh, he's been in such good form, but now he's going downhill. Maybe he needs to practice, or maybe he needs to get some homework done, as Venu would say. But in this case, I think the only thing I can think of as a negative for Australia is probably Marnus Labuschagne. For me, he doesn't look as good as he did the last time I saw him play. His average was like 60 or 70, 80 or something before this match started in the Test Championship. But now, obviously, it's gone down because he's gotten out. Even in the second innings, he came out of the crease and just tried to whack Ashwin for no apparent reason. Like, personally, I thought he could have just played it down or just defended that delivery. But it's not lack of concentration. I think it's more to do with just he hasn't played much in terms of the Test game. Or I don't know if he's played much first class in the Sheffield Shield this season. But maybe it's just some practice he needs to get. So for me, that'll be what I think Australia kind of need to focus on.
Yeah, I think that second innings was a really unnecessary shot for him to hit. So He has scored runs. I think he scored 100 odd in one of the matches, but I don't know how many matches he played. I think he played against Mitchell Stark, and they had a bit of a back and forth because Stark was bowling quick to him, and he was really enjoying it. But yeah, what about you, Venu? What do you think?
About what Australia have to improve on? It's a difficult one. It's I would have said the opening partnership before the second innings, as Asjad correctly pointed out. However, Burns getting a 50 and Wade batting well, I can't say that anymore. So I would say Australia's middle order, I think they need to improve, considering in the first innings, there were, what was it, when Tim Payne came in, Australia were 5 for 79. So I think Travis Head and Cameron Green, they do need to get a score this series and next Test match. I think Australia's middle order need to improve.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I kind of agree with both of you. I guess it's Labuschagne in the middle order, because Labuschagne, I think he averages like 60 odd something, I think, before this, and we know how good he can be. Just didn't look at his fluent best, I would say. He did play some of the ODIs, I think, didn't he? He definitely did, but he didn't play that well in them. So it's a weird one. I don't think it's a case of, I don't think he's a one-hit wonder. I think he is that good. I just think he needs to kind of rekindle that form. And I think before he was able to play very consistently, and maybe as you touched upon, Ashley, he hasn't had as much match play, and it's one innings. I think one innings that he needs, 50 or 60 or 70, even 100, just to push him back into that, and I think he'll be back with vengeance, I think. And I agree with you, Venu. Cameron Green, I think the fact that if they are gonna bat him out, I think it's 6, then, and Travis Head, both those two players need to get runs. Otherwise, maybe they promote Tim Payne up and move one of them down, like Cameron Green to 7, maybe to put less pressure on him, because there's a lot of hype around him and he will be bowling as well. So maybe I think eventually he will get moved up, because I do think he's that good. But yeah, okay. To finish off, then India. What's their one positive, Asjad?
That's my answer.
That's your answer. Okay.
No. In all seriousness, I think Kohli looked in decent touch. That was a positive for me. One thing that I thought was pretty good was the fact that the pace bowlers bowled when they were bowling how they should have. They were bowling quite well. They were bowling quick. Even Umesh Yadav with the other two, all of them were bowling above 140 kilometers per hour. When they pitched it up, they got the same movement that the Australian paces got. But this is the thing. I'm kind of going back onto a negative, aren't I? Right. I'll go with Virat Kohli. Let's just end it there. Yeah, Virat Kohli.
Okay. Vanu, what about you?
Yeah, I'll say Virat Kohli, but now it doesn't mean much considering he has to fly back to India. I would say Ravichandran Ashwin. He bowled really well in the first innings. He got 4 wickets, and he got 4 crucial wickets. Really turned that innings around for India. Getting who did he get first innings? He got the key wicket was Smith, then Head, then Cameron Green. In quick succession. So I'll say Ashwin.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ben. I was going to say Ashwin as well. I think he got 5 wickets in the 4 in the first, 1 in the second. Yeah, so 5 wickets in total. And I think the one thing actually I was a bit worried about, which we talked about in the day 1 review, is I said that Lyon bowls very well in these conditions, and it would be interesting to see how well Ashwin would bowl, because he's a finger spinner. But in these conditions, you need to get that overspin and almost use your body as well, like Lyon does. But obviously, he bowled well in this Test match, so I think he's going to be quite vital for them if they're going to get anything out of the next few Test matches. So yeah, okay. Asjad, the negative. I think these are going to be easy. So Asjad, with you first.
I'm just going to go with fielding, because that's the most obvious one. Yeah, they didn't field particularly well. Again, better than they have done this entire tour, but again, it's not up to the mark. Especially, even Shane Warne was saying, this isn't the fielding you expect from the side who's in the top 3 Test ranked teams in the world right now. So, yeah, probably their fielding. Their tail wasn't very good. The pace bowlers eventually started bowling too short. yeah, there's a lot of negatives I can think of. Let's just go with fielding, because I think that if they improve that, that kind of lifts the entire morale of the entire team. When you're fielding well, everyone starts to kind of gel a lot better. So I'm going to go with fielding.
Okay, Venu?
Yeah, I agree with Asjad. Fielding is one thing India have to work on over the next week. To add to that, I think the batting needs to improve. I think all the batsmen need to go to the nets. They need to get a bowling machine set outside off stump at a fullish pace and put it at 90 mph and see how they cope. That's what they need to do over the next week.
Yeah,
because I want to see a 5-day test match. I was looking forward to this tomorrow morning, and maybe on Monday morning of seeing a good, really tight fourth innings chase. But I'm disappointed because India can't bat. So they need to work on that. They need to set a bowling machine up, and they just need to bat for hours and hours.
Well, you heard it from Coach Venu first, then here.
I was just gonna say that. Can you imagine? Sorry, I was just gonna say, can you imagine? There's no Warner on the Australian end, and you've got Virat Kohli on the Indian end. As soon as he goes, it's like most of their batting just seems to look like it's disappeared, because they look very uncomfortable batting. So I completely agree with you that there is, they need to do something with the batting side of things, because first thing, they need to drop Prithvi Shaw. That's a given. Right? Prithvi Shaw needs to leave this team. Go on.
There is hope for India. There's Rohit Sharma, hopefully will be fit for the third test match. So there's some hope for them. But you are right, Ash, in saying that Australia will look to strengthen their batting lineup with obviously the great Warner coming in, and obviously Kohli's going as well. So that's going to weaken India's batting. So things aren't looking good for the neutral. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the negative, I think I will go against you guys just because I think you've already touched on fielding. Batting, I think, Benny, you make a good point about going the nets and working on that. I think it's also a mental, it's not just, I think, going in nets and doing that, but it's working on the technical aspect of it. And I think once they work on the technical aspect, then they can go in, as you said, Venu, and get that bowling machine and then work on what they've technically adjusted, because they need to. There's a bit of extra bounce in Australia. There's more seam movement than they're probably used to. The issue with going into it with a bowling machine is you're not going to. It's very hard to replicate that type of seam movement that you get with. I mean, I don't know what they use bowling machines, but I'm assuming they're not using balls with seams. That's not what you normally use for bowling machines. So I think actually they need to have match practice. So in between, they need to do it intra squad match, not like a 5-day match, but maybe just do 2-3 days. Because let's think about it, they've just got 2 days back for the test match, so which is not good for them. But they may as well utilize that on a square somewhere, and get the bowlers to get some practice in, the batsmen as well, and just work on it. So it's a weird one. I just think they lack a bit of application, and without Kohli, it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with it. Pretty sure, I think he needs a break. I do think he is a talent. I genuinely do. I just think he is not in the right space to be playing against Australia in Australia at the moment. Pujara, for me, needs to get runs, and he didn't look that good for me, even though he's got that 43. Him and Rahane are going to be so crucial for them in that batting. If they don't get runs, I'm not sure where they're going to get them from. Okay, I think that's it, actually. Do you guys want to touch upon anything else before we wrap up here?
No, I'm just going to say they've got a week and a bit since the Boxing Day test match. So they've got a week, as you're saying, Fazan. India have got a week to sort themselves out. So hopefully the second test will be a lot closer. Well, to be honest, it was looking close after the first 2 days, but India have got a lot to work on, and hopefully they sort it out.
Yeah, I think mentally as well. There's capitulation, right? It's not just, I think, a mental side as well. They'll need to recover from that, because it'll scar them. They'll be hurt from this. Then they'll have to pick themselves up for sure. Losing by eight wickets.
They've literally been knocked out in like the third round. That's literally, using a boxing analogy, they've literally been knocked out, and they need to get themselves up.
It's basically about making their comeback fight and trying to and trying to basically get a win, and they might have to grind it out a points victory.
With Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, like Anthony Joshua. Yeah. Go on, Asjad. Do you have anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
I like how you're using your boxing analogies right there for the boxing fans in the audience. So well done. But mostly, yeah, I agree with both of you with regards to that. I think one thing India needs to do is, like I said, take out Prithvi Shaw, put in Shubman Gill, get in KL Rahul, who's probably going to bat 5, Rahane moves up. And then if Shami's fit, that's great. But if not, that's a huge blow. And they'll have to debut one of the pace bowlers. Most probably they're going to debut Saini rather than Siraj. And not having Ishad Sharma and now not having Mohammad Shami, the 2 highest wicket takers from the previous series when they played in Australia, it's crazy. I look forward to a 5-day match, even if it's the Pakistan-New Zealand one or the Sri Lanka, South Africa. I just want a 5-day test match. Let's see how it goes.
We'll get one, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll get one at least. Okay. I just want to do predictions for the rest of the series now, and then we'll sign off. Venu, obviously they're 1-0 up, then it's 4 tests, isn't it? So
I'm 3-0 Australia. Actually, 4-0. 4-0 Australia.
I remember we said 2-1, didn't we, before?
I said 2-1, but
I said 2-1 as well.
I think considering Kohli's going home,
yeah,
India are a weakened team. Considering Mohammad Shami might miss the next test match, things aren't looking good for them.
Yeah,
I'm going 4-0 Australia.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I should.
I initially said 3-1 to Australia, but I think I'm going to stick with that because I think there's a chance that Australia will make a comeback in the Sydney Test match. So
India,
3-1 to Australia.
I mean, India will make a comeback.
That's what I meant. India will make it.
Yeah, that's fine. I think they'll probably be one drawn. They're not all day-night tests, are they? No, they're not. So because I remember the commentator said that there's never been a drawn day-night test match. They've always had results. So, which does make sense. I'm going to go 3-0. Same with Venu. I think there will be one draw in there somewhere. Well,
I said 4-0. But
I'm going to go through.
3-0 4-0. 3-0 4-0. It's going to be
I don't think India are going to win a test match, if I'm being honest with you. Let's just say that. We'll see. They may do. If they do, I think it'll be quite impressive. If Australia are as strong or stronger with players coming back. But I think Kohli and Shami are big misses. But even then, I just think this doesn't bode well for them.
Can I just add something? I think a lot of us are comparing to India's performance 2 years ago, but you have to understand that Australia went without the 2 best players.
Smith and Warner. Yeah.
So, I think that's something to say. But they did play well, but I think it would have been a lot harder if Smith and Warner were playing. So I think
100%.
comparing how they played last series, I think I don't know what the word is. You can't really.
Yeah, it's not comparable.
It's not comparable at the moment. So
100%. 100%. Okay, let's wrap up. I think this has gone a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. God, a lot to talk about, isn't there, in Test cricket, which is good. It's good though. Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Guys, if you haven't already, please check out Venu's segment on our channel, Venu's Cricket Catch Up. We're going to be doing another one, the third one, which Venu has got in the works. So keep an eye out for that. It will either be released Sunday evening or Monday morning, sometime around then. So keep an eye out for that, depending on my availability of time to edit the video. I'll be honest with you. And Asjad as well, check out his channel, Cricket4Us 2.0, if you haven't already. And of course, guys, subscribe to Quality Shot, where you'll have Venu's Cricket Catch-Up segments. And you also have us reviewing cricket with Venu and also Asjad, or both of us, or whoever else. And of course, boxing and tennis content as well. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. And of course, you guys at home, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.